Yeah. Shit. I'm getting to it. I got a hell of a mess back here. Let me get some light on. There. Can you hear me okay? Let's see if that's all working. You never know what the hell's working and what's not around these parts. You know what I mean. Boom, check 1, 2. Oh, that might be too loud. I don't know. Is it too loud? All of these questions. No real answers to any of them. Let's go check it out. Let's see if we actually get some. Let's go check Boom. It out. I guess we have audio. So yeah, you can hear me. Great. Cool. Fucking mess. Alright, you got a little tinge going there. What the hell is this? I lost a foot to something. What is that? Ain't that some shit? This will come off easily again. All right. Check 1 2, 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 check 1 2. Check 1 2, check 1. Check 1 2, check 1 2, check 1 2. Check, 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 check. Check.
Check, 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 1 2, check 1 2, check 1 2, check 1 2, check. Check 1 2, check 1 2. Check, 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 check 1 2, check 1 2. Ooh, that's bright. Check 1 2, check 1 2, check 1 2. Check 1 2, check 1 2, check 1 2. Woo! Check 1 2 1 2, check 1 2 1 2, check. Check, 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 check. Check 1 2, check, check, check. Check 1 2.
Boom. I'm back. All right. Sweet. Good shit. Whatever.
Check 1 2. Whoa, yeah.
All right.
Yo,
What's going on, Trey?
what's up with it?
I just want to make sure you're good for Tuesday still. I'm going to get you on this group chat, introduce you to Khalil and David. Yeah, I had meant to remember their names. But anyway, I'm going to get you introduced to them, share the link with you of the document, like the page that we have set up to help us stay on the same page. We're going to do a live run on Tuesday. Time and details will be on that document.
All right, cool. But yeah, I'm good to go.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, that's all I want to do is hit you up and let you know that. And yeah, how you doing?
I mean, I'm doing pretty good. I'm about to my mom's birthday today, so I'm about to take her to dinner and then do whatever else she wants to do. Cause yeah, she was supposed to go out of town, but she decided against it. So me and my brother about to hang out with her.
You do that. That's the right thing to do. All right, man. Well, hey, have a good weekend. I'll see you on Tuesday. I'll get you details and the address and everything. It's right there in Covington. Yeah, we'll see you on Tuesday.
All right, cool. Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks for calling.
Yep. Peace.
All right, peace.
Yeah, boy, making shit happen day in and day out. Alright. Mr. J. Gates. All right, let's get some on the boob tube.
All yours.
How do you sleep at night?
I just microphone. You have a low price guaranteed. So I sleep.
Ah.
The 2025 NBA All-Star Weekend is underway in the Bay Area. Fans will get something new this year, a more competitive tournament format, as well as a series of other challenges to test player skills. CNN Andy Schultz is joining us from San Francisco. Andy, what can fans expect from this star-studded event?
Well, Paul, we're inside the Chase Center where we're going to get the three-point dunk contest a little later tonight on TNT. But as you mentioned, we're hoping for a more competitive All-Star game on Sunday because they've got that new format. The All-Stars were drafted onto 3 different teams by Shaq, Lee Smith, and Charles Barkley. And a 4th team that won the Rising Stars last night is going to compete in a mini tournament on Sunday. So, again, hopefully we get a little more competitiveness in that little mini tournament that we're going to have. But this is the 11th All-Star selection for Steph Curry this year. So he is basically the unofficial host of All-Star Weekend. And, yesterday he had a court dedication in Oakland. It's the 20th court that his Curry brand has refurbished. And that was actually at the high school where Bill Russell went to high school. And they named the court after him, which was pretty cool. But I got the chance to catch up with Steph at the high school, and I asked him just how is it having the All-Star game here in the Bay Area for the first time since the year 2000.
I'm super excited. It's kind of weird though, 'cause usually when you finish the last game before the break, you're on a plane somewhere to a different city, and it's a busy week, but it's not home. And here it's everything's familiar. Being able to do activations here in Oakland, I know there's a lot of stuff going on in the city as well in San Francisco, so bringing the Bay together to shine out the entire Bay and celebrate all of what basketball has done, and not only here in the States and internationally, like everything about it for me is kind of a full circle, reflective moment, and I'm trying to take it all in.
Yeah, now Steph is going to be playing on Shaq's team on Sunday, and he's also alongside LeBron and Kevin Durant. They call them Shaq's OGs because they've got basically the Olympic team and the veterans playing together on that squad. They're going to be taking on the team that won the Rising Stars in their first game on Sunday. And what a weekend this has turned out to be for Stephon Castle of the Spurs, the rookie. He had quite the performance in the Rising Stars games. He ended up winning, and now he's going to get to play on Sunday. He's also competing in the dunk contest here tonight at the Chase Center. Now, the three-point contest, quick season history, Damian Lillard is going for the three-peat in the three-point contest. And I caught up with Dame and I asked him, what is that like going for the three-peat where he grew up in the Bay Area?
I'm excited to have the opportunity to do it, period. Just to join that company. But to be able to do it here, I feel like that's a storybook opportunity. To be able to be on that list of people to compete in such a great competition and to do it at home is perfect.
Yeah, so Paul, Damian Lillard's going for the three-peat in the three-point contest. We also could see history as Mac McClung tries to become the first player ever to win 3 straight dunk contests. Should be a fun night here in San Francisco.
And still ahead, a judge rules Elon Musk and his Department of Government Efficiency can keep access to sensitive records at some agencies while continuing to block payment systems at the Treasury. We'll break all that down ahead. You're in the CNN Newsroom.
Cookbooks, corporate backhands, swimming socialites, worked up cyclists, and yes, more crooked politicians. I have a feeling we won't be running out of those anytime soon.
A new season of United States of Scandal with Jay Tapper, March 9th on CNN.
Thinking of updating my kitchen? Yeah. Yes. This year, we are finally updating our kitchen in subway tile and ivory or eggshell green, maybe bone. Getting started on quartz. Big island. You've heard of a waterfall?
For everyone who talks about doing that thing, but never does that thing, Chase has financial guidance.
It's not saying you make this happen. Really?
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 At home or in
You
person.
can also check out a Chase Money Store.
That's guidance from Chase. Make more of what's yours.
Look,
streaming DirecTV without a satellite dish. Just living it up. Did you see how fast that guy found the game? He hardly struggled at all. You know, every day is a struggle for his pigeons. Meanwhile, he's flipping through channels faster than a peregrine falcon. You know, I dated a falcon once. Oh, yes? She was a common barn owl. Not to me, she wasn't.
Find your games easy. No satellite dish.
You know, I still play cards with her mom.
Weight loss.
For so long,
I felt stuck. But Zepbound means change. Zepbound is for adults with obesity to help lose weight and keep it off.
It's changing what I believe is possible when it comes to weight loss. It's changing how much weight I lose. Up to 48 pounds.
And some lost over 58 pounds. Don't take it or look into it. Or if you or someone in your family have medullary thyroid cancer or multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2, tell your doctor if you get a lump or swelling in your neck. Stop Zepbound and call your doctor if you have severe stomach pain or a serious allergic reaction. Severe side effects may include inflamed pancreas or gallbladder problems. Tell your doctor if you experience vision changes, depression, or suicidal thoughts before scheduling procedures with anesthesia. If you're nursing, pregnant, plan to be, or taking birth control pills. Taking Zepbound with a sulfonylurea or insulin may cause low blood sugar. Side effects include nausea, diarrhea, and vomiting, which can cause dehydration and worsen kidney problems. Zepbound means change. Ask your doctor about Zepbound.
I've got to get Marcus on my cleats.
I bet you could buy the whole team new fleet with all that money you saved.
Nancy Dawson is passive progressive.
No, Nancy, that's actually really.
Nancy doesn't have progressive, so she takes it out on those who do.
She could a little private coaching with that. Maybe he'll score a goal. Figured you want the whole world since you saved hundreds with Progressive.
How many tickets to please?
Don't be passive progressive. Drivers who switch could save hundreds.
Tap into Etsy for original and affordable home and style pieces like lighting under $150 to brand your vibe. For under $100, put your best look forward in vintage jackets. Or pick up custom shelving for under $50 to make space without emptying your pockets. And get cozy with linen rolls for $700. For affordable home and style finds to help you welcome whatever's next. Etsy has it.
Did you bring it?
What's a kitchen bundle? Easy. Shop Big Sandy. Choose your fridge, choose your range, dishwasher, and microwave. Pick the finish you love and upgrade individual pieces to fit your needs. 1.4-piece kitchen bundle starting at $19.99 at Big Sandy's Superstore.
Every year, millions of roses are ghosted by the plugins. New Airwick Advanced, a room-breaking plugin that boasts a scent for staying power up to 60 days, plus a fragrance boost button. Our noses won't be ignored again.
Welcome back. Thanks for you to 99 on CNN.
You are in the CNN newsroom. I'm Paul Reed in Washington, just giving us the day off. Confusion, panic, and alarm. These are just some of the emotions being felt across the federal workforce as President Trump continues to test the limits of executive power. The administration, alongside Elon Musk, are right now setting their sights on probationary workers, attempting to terminate thousands across several agencies. Federal judges pausing some of Trump's sweeping actions in a series of rulings on Friday. The president today claiming on social media that, quote, he who saves his country does not violate any law. We'll have more on that in a moment, but first we're joined by CNN correspondent Rafael Romo. Rafael, you've been following the latest on these mass layoffs. What have you learned?
Hey, well, there's a lot of fear and anxiety, especially given what one CDC employee who would like to remain unidentified told me on Friday that this may only be the beginning of the cuts that may be deep and widespread. agency alone, about 1,300 employees could lose their jobs. According to a CNN source, one of those departments is a unit that has investigated public health threats here in the U.S. and abroad, including COVID-19. We've also learned that at least one member of Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency visited the Internal Revenue Service offices in Washington on Thursday as part of his mission to downsize government agencies. And there's more. Trump administration officials fired more than 300 staff on Thursday night of the National Nuclear Security Administration, the agency tasked with managing the nation's nuclear stockpile. Although CNN's Renee Marsh reported later the termination has been rescinded after the full scope of their mission became clear. Earlier today, I spoke with a federal employee in California who has already received the fork in the road email and is afraid that it's only a matter of time before many people like her are terminated. This is what she told us about the mood of her agency, making sure to specify that she is talking to us in a personal capacity and not on behalf of any agency or union. Let's take a listen.
I'm waking up every day with a pit in my stomach, wondering if I'm going to lose my job, if I'll lose my livelihood, if my coworkers will too, and also if our agency will even exist. Because that's what Musk is trying to do. He's trying to stop the services that federal workers and their agencies provide to the American people.
Well, on Thursday, Elon Musk defended his actions by saying that, quote, the people voted for major government reform, and that's what people are going to get. We also heard from Georgia Senator John Ossoff reacting to the layoffs at the CDC. Ossoff said the following: President Trump's indefensible and indiscriminate firing of more than 1,000 CDC personnel in a single day leaves Americans exposed to disease and devastates careers and livelihoods for the world's most talented doctors and scientists, many of them here in Georgia. But again, Paula, a lot of people very nervous and afraid right now here at the CDC.
Thank you. As the independent agency tasked with enforcing labor laws has been essentially shut down after President Trump fired one of its board members. The National Labor Relations Board oversees elections to form unions, as well as investigating complaints of unfair labor practices. The board is comprised of 5 members. However, 2 of the seats are vacant due to expired term limits, but Trump took the unprecedented step of firing a 3rd board member, making the board unable to form a quorum to make decisions. Joining us now is a member of the Army Corps of Engineers and president of Local 98, International Federation of Professional and Technical Engineers, Chris Doles. Chris, thank you for joining us. I want to first ask you, what impact does it have on unions not having a functioning NLRB?
Well, as a federal union officer, we rely on the services of the Federal Labor Relations Authority, and the attacks on that agency have already begun. But the attacks on the NLRB, which are part and parcel of the same attacks, are going to affect all private sector workers. So the vast majority of American workers are now going to have degraded legal rights in their workplaces. Their rights to form a union are going to be weaker than perhaps ever since the NLRA was first passed. It's really devastating for all American workers.
We've been seeing reports about the administration. They're cutting jobs across many federal agencies. Once they're done with all the cutting, how do you expect them to backfill these positions so that at least essential services are carried out? Obviously, not every job is going to be filled.
I need to say, just because you mentioned my affiliation with the Army Corps of Engineers, and these days we have to be very careful to say that I'm required by law to make it clear that I'm speaking only for myself and that my views aren't necessarily those of the agency. And more importantly, I'm not here just because I'm an employee of the Army Corps of Engineers. I'm also here because I'm part of a growing national network of federal workers who are fighting back against these attacks. Now, how will they backfill our positions? I don't think they have any intention of backfilling our positions. I think they're trying to deepen a crisis that already exists, which is the funding crisis, that our public services aren't sufficiently supported already. Federal workers are overworked as is. They're trying to deepen that crisis to justify further privatization. You look at Elon Musk, who's of course the architect and executioner here. He's already benefiting from more than $18 billion in federal contracts over the last 10 years. And he calls recipients of federal aid parasites. Elon Musk is the parasite here.
So you got this buyout offer with the 2 million people. What did you make of it? What was your reaction?
The first thing I did was I reached out to other federal workers who I've been working with for the last couple of years to make our union stronger, to protect federal workers' rights. And what I found was that everybody was so insulted. We learned, of course, quickly that other employees who received the same buyout didn't get the pay. That what we're dealing with here are con men. And we educated our members everywhere we could that this is a scam. We need to hold the line and protect the government they're trying to break up because our services are so critical. In my corner of the government, we do dredging to maintain shipping channels so the economy can work. We build and maintain flood walls and levees to protect American homes and communities. We were the folks who built the emergency hospitals at the beginning of the COVID pandemic. So really, our work touches everything from the economy as a whole to your local communities and your personal health and moments of the public health crises. So, for the people who are trying to purge the government, we're trying to hold the line. Those of us who have committed our careers to the public service that are going to keep it going if we can stop these attacks.
Chris Doles, thank you.
Can I just say that this Federal Unionist Network is doing a National Day of Action next Wednesday, and we're calling on all Americans to come out and support federal workers. And folks should go to go.savepublicservices.com to get involved in your local communities to defend not only us federal workers, but the whole American public that's under attack by Trump and Musk. It's go.savepublicservices.com to get involved.
All right, Chris, thank you. And meanwhile, a win for Elon Musk and Doge, who are wasting no time in their efforts to overhaul the federal government. The federal judge ruled Doge can keep its access to data at the Department of Labor and other agencies, rejecting labor unions' attempts to shut down that access. But a judge has blocked Musk and Doge from accessing Treasury data for now. Joining us now is senior legal analyst and former state federal prosecutor, Ali Honig, and CNN senior political analyst, Ron Brownstein. Ali, I want to start with you. Elon and Doge, they're temporarily blocked from accessing this Treasury data. Do you think that the judge will make this hold permanent?
Well, Paula, there has been a bit of a sea change happening over the last several days, which is this. In the beginning, virtually all of these lawsuits challenging Donald Trump's efforts and Elon Musk's efforts to downsize the government were successful. Basically, all of the courts that hear these cases at least put temporary holds on the Trump administration. But slowly, including over the last 2-3 days, we've seen some of those holds come off. We've seen courts start to rule in favor in some cases of Trump and Elon Musk. And the reason, broadly speaking, is it's not the case that federal employees have some sacrosanct perpetual right to remain employed forever, and it's also not the case that Elon Musk has zero ability to access information. He's been someone who's appointed by the president to do a certain job. With certain restraints, he can access certain information. So we're starting to see the tide turn right now. A judge, for example, has declined to put the buyout plan on hold. Another judge just yesterday, a Democrat-appointed judge, Judge Reyes, forcefully rejected an effort by the fired inspector general to get their jobs back. So it's not quite as simple as, well, these people are excellent and they do good work. And I think more and more the courts are slowly coming around to balance these cases.
Ron, I think what's interesting about the access to Treasury data is this has to do with stuff, right? Because this is also how federal employees are paid, Social Security, disability. I mean, Musk and Trump don't really seem moved by court losses necessarily. But do you think that if constituents and the populace gets too worked up about this, do you think political pressure might prompt them to reverse course on this?
Well, I think, the Treasury data also implicates people's privacy. And the question of whether, Musk and his minions, the people he's brought in, often with these very young coders, have access to American personal, financial, and maybe health data is, I think, a different political question than the size of the federal workforce. And I'm not sure that the public broadly is going to be that unsympathetic to the idea of trimming the federal workforce. Where I think Musk and Trump run into risk on that front is whether this is going to threaten basic services. And, if you start severely cutting the federal workforce, you are really off the fence. I mean, you cut CDC, outbreaks of, E. coli and other problems, you're going to have blowback. So I'm not sure there's going to be a huge political uprising at the front end, but I think that once you do this, you leave yourself pretty vulnerable to events on the back end.
Ellie, I want to get your take on what's happening. Talk about an uprising over at DOJ, where there's been a civil war going on inside that building. You work with the Justice Department. Obviously, we have a mutiny over dropping the Adams case, tensions over investigations that happened over the past few years. Attorney General Bondi, she's 10 days into the job. Presumably Todd Blanche will be confirmed soon. Do you think there's any way that they can gain back the trust inside the building, or is it just lost at this point?
I don't think there's any way they can ever completely win back the trust that's been squandered in the last 2-3 days. First of all, I don't know where Pam Bondi is here. She's sort of floating in and out of various news conferences and seems not to even know what's happening in her own department. Meanwhile, Emil Bove is wreaking absolute havoc. He's firing people. He's firing off letters that become public in which he says directly it's okay to dismiss a case if it furthers the president's political agenda. This is outrageous stuff. This undermines DOJ's independence. This undermines DOJ's credibility. I know for a fact you don't have to be too close to DOJ to be able to tell people are in an uprising there, and that's the people who have come up and quit and issued sort of eloquent public statements to explain why they're quitting, but it also goes to the hundreds and thousands of rank and file people who work there. The last week has brought incalculable damage on DOJ. What Pam Bondi needs to do is get control of her own house. She needs to set the priorities of this place, Todd Blanche does too, and not let Emil Bove sort of run the show. He's doing a horrific job of that, and he's doing real damage.
Yeah, Emil Bove, his name has been on the memos, right? The termination memos that were pushing for information about people on January 6th. Obviously, he's had to handle what's going on in the Adams case. Ron, do you think Bondi should push him out, make him sort of the scapegoat for everything that has happened, and try to start again? Do you think that would help?
I can't see that happening. I mean, you see the attraction of trying to finger someone as the scapegoat. But what they're doing is advancing the vision that Donald Trump has explicitly laid out, where the Justice Department is more kind of a person who is seen drafted or enlisted or coerced into being an enforcer, punishing his enemies and rewarding his friends. I mean, the bookend of dropping these charges against Adams, which in any rational world, given the letters from the line prosecutor, from the assistant U.S. attorney in New York, both of whom with impeccable conservative credentials, that this was a response to a quid pro quo offer from the mayor's defense. In any rational world, you would have Congress investigating, and maybe the judge himself will be asking some pointed questions when he hears, the request to dismiss. But basically, what you're seeing, I think this case crystallizes, is how far Trump wants to go in transforming the administration of justice into a tool to advance his interests. And really, across a broad swath of society, I think from business leaders to Congress to civic leaders, people have to decide whether they are comfortable living in that world, because it could come around and bite you in ways that you might not, anticipate today. But I think the Adams case really crystallizes those choices, and maybe in a way that will be easier for the public to grasp than some of the other decisions, like the abandoning, for example, enforcement of the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act.
Yeah, bitten by his own hand-picked acting U.S. attorney. Ellie Volnick, Ron Brownstein, thank you so much for joining us. And coming up, sources telling CNN new details on the president's plan to end Russia's war in Ukraine. What we know about a key meeting set for days from now.
The Boeing 747 has crashed in the Lockerbie area. Trying to find out why it began. Nothing is what it seems in the Lockerbie story. The one in the pan of like
Choose Advil Liquid Gels for faster, stronger, and longer-lasting relief than Tylenol Rapid Release Gels. Because Advil targets pain at the source of inflammation.
Not investing in it is. NASDAQ 100 Innovators, Market ETF. Before investing, carefully consider fund investment objectives, risk, charges, expenses, and more. Prospectus at invesco.com.
This tiny home trend, not for me. Now this is more like it. Same goes for my footwear. So I went hands-free with Y-Fit Skechers slip-ins. Just step in and go without bending down or touching my shoes. Y-Fit hands-free Skechers slip-ins.
If you take or have taken Humira for moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis and still have symptoms, you don't have to settle. Ask your gastroenterologist if switching to Rinvoq is right for you. It's one of the latest treatments from the makers of Humira. Rinvoq works differently than Humira, and may help. Rinvoq is a once-daily pill that can deliver rapid symptom relief, lasting steroid-free remission, and helps visibly reduce damage of the intestinal lining.
Rinvoq can lower ability to fight infections. Before treatment, test for TB and do blood work. Serious infections, blood clots, some fatal cancers, including lymphoma and skin. Serious allergic reactions, GI tears, death, heart attack, and stroke occur. CV event risk increases in age 50 plus with a heart disease risk factor. Tell your doctor if you've had these events: infection, Hep B or C, smoked, are pregnant, or planning. Don't take if allergic or have an infection.
Rapid symptom relief and lasting steroid-free remission are possible with Rinvoq. Ask your gastroenterologist if switching to Rinvoq is right for you. You can pay as little as $0 per month.
Here's to getting better with age.
Here's the thing we used to every Thursday.
Help fuel today with Boost High Protein. Complete nutrition you need and the flavor you love. So here's to now. Boost Max.
If you don't like traditional foundation like me, I have a secret for you. It's called What the Foundation. What the Foundation is a hybrid product that blends foundation and moisturizer. This is exactly what I think foundation should be. Learn more at charlesroadbeauty.com.
Subway's got a new deal of the day. Chips and a drink for just $6.99. Or if you're big hungry, make it a foot long for only $3 more. Big hungry, is that a thing? That should be a thing. Find your fresh. We all knew $6.99.
Who discovered a smarter, more flexible way to move with Pods. Save up to 20% now for a limited time. Whether you're moving across town or across the country, save up to 20% at pods.com today.
Wait, no past children with meds now?
New to psychology-based weight loss company?
Yes, new combined medication and behavior change, so you can lose the weight and keep it off.
And it starts at just $149.
New, the smart way.
Gum problems could be the start of the domino effect. Periodontics Active Gum Conditioner. Clinically proven to help reverse the 4 signs of early gum disease. A toothpaste from Periodontics, the gum experts.
I want 5 more alarms and metaphor for everything else I'm doing. Like my laundry for my 768 hundred texts.
I'm just your dermatologist.
769.
Try HydroBoost.
Neutrogena. Weightless hydration that goes deep.
CNN presents HBO's Real Time with Omar tonight at 8 on CNN.
We are learning new details surrounding President Trump's plan to end the conflict in Ukraine. Sources telling CNN top administration officials are set to travel to Saudi Arabia in the coming days for a meeting with senior Russian officials. This as Special Envoy to Russia and Ukraine, General Keith Kellogg, makes clear Europe will not be part of those talks. CNN's Betsy Klein broke the story. She joins us now from West Palm Beach with more details. Betsy, what were you hearing officials?
Well, Paula, just moments after President Trump spoke with Russian President Vladimir Putin earlier this week, he indicated that he wanted talks to end Russia's war in Ukraine to begin, quote, immediately. And to that end, we are seeing President Trump dispatch 3 top officials for discussions with senior-level Russian officials in the coming days. Now, 2 sources familiar with the matter tell us that Secretary of State Marco Rubio, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, and Special Envoy to the Middle East Steve Witkoff will be heading to Saudi Arabia for those talks with the Russian officials in the coming days, according to one of those sources. Now, one of those sources top political, intelligence, and economic officials in Russia to participate in these talks. And President Trump told reporters that he could also soon meet with Putin himself, saying that that meeting could happen in Saudi Arabia and could happen, quote, in the not-too-distant future. He also indicated that Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman could be part of those discussions. Of course, the Crown Prince has been a key interlocutor between the U.S. and Russia. Now, one party that won't be at the negotiating table, according to Special Envoy to Russia and Ukraine General Keith Kellogg, is the Europeans. Kellogg did say, however, the Ukrainians, of course, would have a seat at the negotiating table, though it's unclear at what stage the Ukrainians will be brought into this process. I also want to note the comments from Kellogg, who said that Russia will have to make concessions during these talks. He said that that could take place in the territorial matters, as well as possibly the renunciation of the use of force. Now, of course, all of this comes after those serious comments from Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky earlier today, saying that the role of the U.S. in Russia, in Ukraine, and the world is unclear to him. We are also seeing President Trump dramatically reshape relations with President Putin.
Betsy Klein, thank you. And as the U.S. looks to Saudi Arabia for peace talks, the leader of Ukraine is warning Europe is now on its own.
The old days are over when America supported Europe just because it always had.
CNN chief international anchor Christiana Amanpour spoke to Zelensky at the Munich Security Conference earlier today, where she asked him about Ukraine's future as the U.S. alliance with Europe begins to shift. Here's some of that conversation.
Mr. President, Trump was asked whether he trusted Putin. And he sort of basically ended up saying, on this I do. But he has also said that, and in fact it's quite difficult to extract what all the different administration officials have been saying. On the one hand, potentially that, you know, maybe Ukraine had a responsibility for this war. Maybe Ukraine can't ever expect to get back. It's unrealistic, according to the defense secretary, its territory. Maybe Ukraine will be safe and independent. Maybe it'll be part of Russia. Do you understand what America's position is?
Yes.
Which is?
I think, to my mind, they are preparing atmosphere for their dialogue.
For their dialogue, which will be?
For the dialogue between Trump and Putin. And I think this is, this is up to them, but they can discuss everything they want, but not about Ukraine without us. And that's why, especially in this case, I think it's a little more dangerous. That's why I said that we need to talk more with the president and to talk more with his people, with his teams. Yesterday, as you said, yes, we had good conversation, and I think that I opened some new details for vice president. That's why I said we need. It's not waste time. It's really very important. I think diplomatic investment for the future, just and lasting peace for Ukraine.
You said Putin doesn't want peace. You just said it.
Yeah,
So what is the dialogue? And have you convinced the Americans that A, Ukraine has to be at the table, and B, I guess the Europeans have to convince them? Did you get a commitment from President Trump that you would meet with him first? Do you have a plan to meet with the president?
No, we have our plan, of course. It's our country, and that's why it's our plan.
Welcome back. I got news for you tonight at 9 on CNN.
Good for you.
Tom Hayes is passive progressive. Don't be like Tom. Switch to get good coverage and savings for yourself.
Weight loss.
For so long,
I felt stuck. I tried and tried again. Lost weight, gained it back.
with Zepbound, gains change. Zepbound's for adults with obesity to help lose weight. Keep it up.
Activating two naturally occurring hormone receptors in my body, Zepbound works differently. It's changing what I believe is possible when it comes to weight loss. It's changing how much weight I lose, up to
48 pounds. And some lost over 58 pounds.
Don't take as a legitimate or if you or someone in your family had medullary thyroid cancer or multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2. Tell your doctor if you get a lump or swelling in your neck. Stop Zepbound and call your doctor if you have severe stomach pain or a serious allergic reaction. Severe side effects may include inflamed pancreas or gallbladder problems. Tell your doctor if you experience vision changes, depression, or suicidal thoughts before scheduled procedures with anesthesia. If you're listening, present, plan to be, or taking birth control pills. Taking Zepbound with a sulfonylurea or insulin may cause low blood sugar. Side effects include nausea, diarrhea, and vomiting, which can cause dehydration and worsen kidney problems.
Zepbound means change. Discover the weight loss you could be bound for. Ask your doctor about Zepbound.
Got one more.
It's USPS Ground Advantage, just like your business, every step of the way. Stay in the know. Your doctor, so they're true.
Perfecting your swing is hard.
Nice shot, Dad.
But replacing your windshield doesn't have to be. Go to SafeLight.com and we can come to you.
Sick.
Our highly trained techs can replace your windshield where you are.
Have a good day. Lucky.
SafeLight makes it easy. Go to SafeLight.com and schedule a replacement today. Another way to savor the crunchy nooks and crannies splendor of a Thomas's English muffin.
Tom, which is a nook and which is a cranny?
It's a nook, cranny, nook, cranny. I mean, they should be teaching this in school. Huzzah! A toast to breakfast.
Your business made limitless. That's Life Unlimited.
Okay, little Wendy's hack. If you want a super fresh, high quality burger every time, tell them you want a hamburger. That's a hack, right? No? A hack-free burger made fresh for you? Gotta be Wendy's.
Four nations facing up.
For the Maple Leafs.
Because this game is our game.
Closed captioning brought to you by Mesosource.com.
If you were a loved one to have mesothelioma, we'll send you a free book to answer questions you may have. Call now, and we'll come to you.
800-821-4000.
From leader of the party to odd man out, Senator Mitch McConnell is not holding back in the final stage of his career, choosing to cast a trio of votes against the president's cabinet picks, including RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, and CNN reporter Harry Enton joins us now to run the numbers on McConnell's legacy. All right, Mitch is a complicated guy, a complicated legacy. What's the chance that he is going
sand trifecta of being underwater overall, minus 39 points, 9 percentage points more of the electorate disapproves than approves of the job that he has done. How about Democrats? He's 58 points underwater. My goodness gracious, the chance that all of a sudden just because he cast 3 votes against Trump that he somehow become a folk here with them is absolutely, frankly, insane. And then with Republicans, of course, he's gone up against Trump before, and that's why he's 17 points underwater for Republicans. When you're underwater with Democrats, Republicans, and overall, the chance that you're going to become a folk hero, it seems rather low to be called.
Just indeed. All right, of course, the next question is how does his popularity compare with that of President Trump?
Yeah, so I think Donald Trump will like these numbers. All right, so let's take a look. This is the net approval rating. I got overall, and I got for Republicans. Look how much higher Donald Trump is overall versus Mitch McConnell. Look at that. Trump is on the positive side of the ledger at +3. Mitch McConnell, of course, underwater overall at -39. So Trump is 42 points higher than Mitch McConnell is overall. Among Republicans, of course, Donald Trump is very popular there with a +82 point net approval rating. Of course, Mitch McConnell, again, underwater at -17. So you do the math quickly here, 82, 17. That is nearly 100 points higher that Donald Trump is net approval rating-wise with Republicans than Mitch McConnell is. The bottom line is that when it comes to the popularity battle, Donald Trump comes out way, way, way ahead of Mitch McConnell.
Okay. But is this just a problem with majority leaders? Is this like a heavy is the head situation? I mean, put this into historical context. Where does he stack up against other majority leaders?
Yeah, I always like going through the history books, right? I love spreadsheets, I love history books. So let's go take a look through the history books. We'll take a look at the net popularity rating of GOP Senate leaders, their final ratings as majority leaders. Take a look here. Mitch McConnell, again, underwater at -39 points. How about his predecessor, Dr. Northwest from the great state of Tennessee? He was underwater too, but he was only at -8 points. Trent Lott was at +5 points from the great state of Mississippi. And of course, Bob Dole from the great state of Kansas. He was above water at +6 points. So the bottom line is Mitch McConnell, a historical anomaly when it comes to Republican leaders. He is far, far, far more underwater than any of the past GOP leaders over the last 40 years.
Okay, but do you think he cares, given everything he's been able to accomplish? We currently have a conservative supermajority at the Supreme Court, everything he worked for, everything he dreamed of.
Yeah, so you talk about the polls, Donald Trump loves the polls. I love looking at the polls. I'm not quite sure Mitch McConnell cares about the polls because the bottom line is this. Mitch McConnell got what he wanted. He got what he wanted. Supreme Court nominees confirmed. He got the 3, of course, during Trump's first term. And Roe v. Wade overturned. So I think that Mitch McConnell would say, polls be damned, I may be underwater, but the bottom line is I had one goal in mind, and I was able to achieve it with the Supreme Court supermajority, and I was able to get Roe v. Wade from being a law of the land to being overturned and going into the waste bin of history.
Take that off the board. All right, I want to ask you one more question. On Monday, we have a holiday, but it still appears to cause a lot of confusion for people this holiday. So can you break it down for us?
Yeah, I just have a question. What the heck is the holiday on Monday? Is it President's Day with the apostrophe before the S, as New Hampshire says? Is it President's Day with the apostrophe after the S, as Pennsylvania says? Is it, as New Jersey says, it's President's Day with no apostrophe? Or is it, as the great state of New York says, Washington's birthday? I'm not quite sure you could go wrong here because any of them equal a day off. But it leaves me in a state of drastic confusion, and I'm hoping somebody might be able to help me figure it out.
I cannot help you, Harry. I know that I have the day off. I don't know. I'm not on mission over here, but I appreciate you at least highlighting the problem and coming on and helping us put into context Mitch McConnell's legacy. You're the best.
Shalom. Be well.
He's vowing radical transparency in his new role as head of Health and Human Services. But what will RFK Jr.'s leadership and his vaccine skepticism mean for the future of American healthcare? We'll explore next.
Tomorrow, our people at the Justice Department over the case against New York's mayor. Witness President Trump want Eric Adams to do now on immigration. Border Czar Tom Homan joins Dana, and Senator Amy Klobuchar responds. State of the Union, live tomorrow morning at 9.
Explore the world the Viking way. From the quiet comfort of elegant smaller ships with no children and no casinos. We actually have reinvented ocean voyages, designing all-inclusive experiences for the thinking person. Viking, voted world's best by both Travel and Leisure and Condé Nast Traveler. Learn more at Viking.com.
If you're living with dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy, or GA. GA can be unpredictable, progress rapidly, leading to irreversible irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to ask your doctor about eye survey. Izervay is an eye injection. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal protection, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Do not try the lens machinery until vision has recovered after an eye injection or exam. Izervay is proven to slow GA progression, which may help preserve vision longer. So shift gears and get going. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay.
I have type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I take once daily, Jardians, and each day slows. As time went on, it was easy to see. I'm lowering my A1C. And for adults with type 2 diabetes and known heart disease, Jardians can lower the risk of cardiovascular events too.
Serious side effects include increased ketones in blood or urine, which can be fatal. Stop Jardians and call your doctor right away if you have nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, trouble breathing, or increased ketones. Jardians may cause dehydration that can suddenly worsen kidney function and make you feel dizzy, lightheaded, or weak upon standing. General yeast infections in men and women, urinary tract infections, low blood sugar, or a rare life-threatening bacterial infection in and around the anus and genitals. Call your doctor right away if you have fever or feel weak or tired, pain, tenderness, swelling, or redness in the genital area. Don't use if allergic to Jardians. Stop use if you have a serious allergic reaction. Call your doctor if you have rash, swelling, difficulty breathing, or swallowing. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have new pain or tenderness, sores, ulcers, or infection on your legs or feet.
Jardians is a really swell little pill with a big story to tell. Look, I'm streaming DirecTV without a satellite dish. Just living it up. Did you see how fast that guy found the game? He hardly struggled at all. You know, every day is a struggle for his pitches. Meanwhile, he's flipping through channels faster than a peregrine falcon.
You know, I dated a falcon once.
Oh, Janice? She was a common barn owl.
Not to me, she wasn't.
Find your games easy. No satellite dish.
You know, I still play cards with her mom.
Between Molly leaving and Mom's osteoporosis, I thought life was going to slow down. Boy, was I wrong.
If you have postmenopausal osteoporosis and are at high risk for fracture, Evenity can help you rapidly build new bone in just 12 months. Evenity is the only bone builder that also helps slow bone loss and is proven to significantly reduce bone fracture risk.
She said the Evenity she's Let's you go! So yeah, we still bike, babysit, and brunch with the ladies.
Evenity can increase risk of heart attack, stroke, or death from a heart problem. Tell your doctor if you have had a heart attack or stroke. Do not take Evenity if you have low blood calcium or are allergic to it, as serious events have occurred with Evenity. Signs include rash, hives, swelling of the face or throat, which may cause difficulty in swallowing, muscle spasms or cramps, numbness, or tingling. Tell your doctor about severe juggling problems, as they have been reported with Evenity. Report hip, groin, or thigh pain. Unusual thigh bone fractures have occurred with Evenity. Ask your doctor about building new bone with Evenity.
Right now, Texas is experiencing its largest measles outbreak in 30 years. The number of cases has doubled in just 4 days. State public health officials say there are now 48 cases across 4 counties, and all of them are patients who are vaccinated. But it's not just Texas. Cases of measles are popping up across the country. Last year, the CDC reported 285 cases, the most seen in the U.S. since 2019. Nearly 90% of those patients were not vaccinated. And this is all as vaccine skeptics get a new high-profile ally in Robert F. Kennedy Jr. This week, he was officially sworn in as the nation's top health chief. Joining me now to discuss is Emily Foster. She is CEO of Parent Data and her books focused on data-driven tips for parenting. I've read them all. And now she has a new one on vaccine safety, a new article on vaccine safety. Emily, thank you for being here. First, your reaction to RFK leading the tests.
So in particular, in the case of vaccines, I am worried about the increase in skepticism. We have seen this increase in skepticism beginning during the the vaccination rates have already started to drop, will continue to drop, and we will see more cases of measles and other vaccine-preventable illnesses as we are already seeing.
Now, RFK Jr. reportedly made some serious commitments to several senators before being confirmed for this role. Now, according to Republican Senator Bill Cassidy, those commitments included maintaining the nation's current vaccine protocols and guidelines and keeping statements online saying vaccines do not cause autism. How confident are you that he will keep those promises?
It's always hard to tell, but I think the reality is it's not actually that important whether there's an official statement online that says that vaccines don't cause autism. If the message that's coming out is, well, maybe they do cause autism, which to be clear is something we have shown in extensive data is not true. I think the core is the messaging, not the availability of vaccines, not what's online, is what people are hearing and what they're being exposed to. It generates skepticism and it lowers vaccine rates. So I think those are reasonable promises, but in fact are not likely to stem the decline in vaccination rates.
And in this piece you wrote for The Atlantic, you explained some of the reasons why parents are suddenly questioning the vaccine safety. For example, you pinpoint the COVID-19 pandemic as the main catalyst in this sudden shift in Americans' distrust of health experts and institutions, saying, quote, it's a cliche that trust, once lost, is difficult to regain. Less well understood is that once gained, trust can be exploited. So how does that finding fall into the rise of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., now at the top of the healthcare bureaucracy?
I think that one of the things that happened during COVID and continues to happen is that actors who had worked with people's distrust of various COVID restrictions and of the COVID vaccine had built this trust, and then that trust has been used to generate individual distrust in vaccinations. And as we see RFK elevated to the top of the health hierarchy, I think we're going to continue to see that build trust and have people then mistrust other experts. It's a back and forth that's hard to get out of.
As I mentioned in the introduction, the number of measles cases is multiplying. So based on the data you've looked at and the conversations you've had with parents, at what point does fear of the disease you think surpass fear of a vaccine?
With some of the research I've done, we can see that when there are cases of vaccine-preventable disease in your local area, that prompts vaccination. We can see that in pertussis, we can see it in measles. But I do think that there's a backstop here where as cases go up in the local area and people hear about it, we will see increases in vaccines, but not before kids get sick. And having disease drive vaccination is not the direction that we would ideally like to have things go.
Emily, thank you so much for joining us and for your great work. Your books were the #1 recommendation that I got when I had my daughter. So thank you for joining us. And again, keep up the great work.
Thanks for having me.
Ahead, a large storm system is unleashing potentially historic rain and flooding on parts of the country that have already been rain-soaked for days, putting more than 35 million people under the threat of severe weather.
I got news for you. It's back for the season.
Final answer, boy.
More guests.
How do you know every defense harder than you?
More mayhem.
She goes the kitty party.
Roy Wood Jr. and The Ruffin and Michael Ian Black are finding the funny in the week's biggest stories.
I'll give y'all 4 years of something to talk about.
That's it.
News for You returns tonight at 9 on CNN. Knowledge is put to the test. GMC. What we choose to know, we know completely. We are professional grade.
Here you go.
Is there any way to get a better price on this?
Have you checked Single Care? Whenever my customers ask how to get a better price on their nuts, I tell them about Single Care. It's a free app accepted at pharmacies nationwide.
Before I pick up my prescription, I always check the Single Care price.
It's quick, easy, and totally free to use.
Single Care can literally beat my insurance.
You just search for your prescription and show your Single Care coupon at the pharmacy.
So I just show the coupon and get this price?
That's right. Go to singlecare.com and start saving today. So what are you thinking?
All right.
What Africans are hot air balloon rides? Swim with elephants? Can we afford a safari? Great question. Like everything, it takes a little planning. Or what they might put it down there.
On a ranch.
In Montana.
With horses.
Let's take a look at those scenarios.
JP Morgan Wealth Management has advisors in Chase branches and tools like WealthPlan to help keep you on track. When you're planning for it all, the answer is JP Morgan Wealth Management.
Our models are made to look beautiful and made to last.
So we hand-selected products that are stylish and durable to create new designs for your home. See them now at Rebath.com.
So what do you think about these?
We're going to take everything down instead.
From design and products to removal and installation,
Turned out amazing.
Rebath is with you through every step of your remodel. Visit Rebath.com for your free in-home design consultation.
You go to Sandals to get really, really close to the Caribbean.
We should do this every morning.
Sandals Valentine's sale is now on. Save up to $1,000 and get a sandal at your airport too.
Tap into Etsy for original and affordable home and style pieces like lighting under $150 to brand new vibe. For under $100, put your best look forward with vintage jackets. Or pick up custom shelving for $150 to make some. And get cozy with $75 or less. For affordable home and style finds to help you welcome whatever's next. Etsy has it.
Okay, Noah's gonna be the fire. Our job is to let him do it by himself.
Kind of what you got there?
Greg,
Let's see what that down. Did it turn? You got to turn.
Structural sound.
Fire starter? Okay. Cavemen, they built fires with nothing but their wits and their bare hands.
Progressive can't protect you from becoming your parents, but we can protect your home auto when you bundle with us.
Your business made limitless. That's Life Unlimited.
Okay, Little Wendy's have it. If you want a super fresh, high quality burger every time, tell them you want a hamburger. That's a hack, right? No? A hack-free burger made fresh for you? Got the Wendy's.
ESPN Bet now has profit boosts, so I parlay this money with these points until yards. That is boost.
Do you want me to boost your latte?
Boost it, baby. Sign up for ESPN Bet to receive your welcome bonus today.
Oh, he's loving it. Feel at home, Gerald?
I'm Pete Montine at Reagan National Airport. This is CNN.
Tonight, tens of millions of people across several states are under severe weather alerts as a massive system that just drenched Southern California makes its way east. The Cobra storm is expected to bring heavy rain and flooding to the south and Midwest, and a wintry mix of ice and snow to the northeast. Allison Chinchar has the details.
Yeah, the most widespread concern out of this system is definitely going to be the flooding, and it extends from Arkansas all the way up through western Pennsylvania. But within that area, this spot right here, this pink color that you see here, this is where we have a level 4 out of 4, a high risk for excessive rainfall. Just to emphasize, these are rare. They only occur on about 4% of the days throughout the year, but they're responsible for 40% of flood-related deaths and 80% of the flood-related damage. So this is a significant concern, especially as we go through the evening and overnight hours tonight. In addition to flooding, there's also the potential for severe thunderstorms. We're talking damaging winds and the potential for some tornadoes. This exists across portions of the southeast, so Nashville, Birmingham, Atlanta, even down to Mobile. The timeline for a lot of these storms, you notice a lot of those showers and thunderstorms fire up in the back half of the day and continue through the evening and the overnight hours, which means make sure before you go to bed tonight you have a way to get those emergency alerts on your phone to wake you in case something happens. Then you'll also start to see more of that moisture begin to spread into portions of the Mid-Atlantic and even into the Northeast as we head into the very early hours of Sunday. A lot of the cold weather aspects, the wintry mix, the ice, the snow, that lingers through much of the day Sunday. The rest of the system, however, really starts to exit most of these areas, maybe with the exception of Maine, by the time we get to the back half of the day on Sunday. Overall, widespread amounts of these rainfall, we're looking at 2 to 4 inches, but it's not out of the question for some spots to pick up half a foot of rain. On the snow side of this, the heaviest is certainly going to be in interior New England, especially in the Green and White Mountains, where at least a foot of snow could fall.
Allison, thank you. And this weekend, an all-new CNN original series tracks the mysterious circumstances behind the deadliest terror attack on the United States before 9/11. The 1988 bombing of Pan Am Flight 103 over Lockerbie, Scotland. The 4-part series tracks the complex web of theories that emerged from the global investigation that followed. Here's a preview.
Radio reported that a Pan American flight had disappeared from radar. That was the beginning of my nightmare.
Ohio 747 has crashed in the Lockerbie area. 747 still full out of the sky. They found explosive residue inside the baggage container. There were 259 passengers on the plane. Of those, 190 were American. It was the largest act of terrorism in the United States before 9/11.
It's very upsetting, but trying to find out the why of it became everything.
There are a number of anomalies. Someone called the U.S. Embassy and made a threat. If some diplomats had known this, why were they left in the dark? That's what it seems in the Lockerbie story. A lot was going on in the background. The U.S. government had an agenda. You could look at the Iranians living. The CIA, Hezbollah, they were informants, civil agents. So many twists and turns in this whole story.
We wanted to bring justice to our loved ones.
If you're looking for a clean answer, you're not going to get it.
After 35 years, when is it going to end?
Lockerbie, the bombing of Pan Am Flight 103, premieres tomorrow at 9 on CNN. Progressive makes it easy to see if you can save money with a commercial auto quote online, so you can get back to your monster to-do list.
Super helpful.
See if you can save money at progressivecommercial.com.
For generations, this ally to the north has been by your side. Ontario, Canada. A partner connected by shared history, shared values, and a shared vision for what we can achieve together. Stable and secure when the world around us isn't. You can rely on Ontario for energy to power your growing economy and for the critical minerals crucial to new technologies. Ontario is your third largest trading partner and the #1 export destination for 17 states. Our long-standing economic partnership keeps millions of Americans working. In a changing world, it's time to bring jobs back home and build together. More workers, more trade, more prosperity, more security. For generations, this ally of the north has been here. And for generations more, will still be here, right by your side.
Maya knows how quality care can bring out a smile. But it's been a few dog years since she was able to enjoy a smile of her own. Good thing Aspen Dental offers affordable complete care all in one place. And new patients without insurance get $29 exams and x-rays, plus 20% off treatment plans for everyone. Loving our patients unconditionally. It's one more way. Aspen Dental is in your corner.
Still have moderate to severe ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease symptoms after taking a medication like Humira or Remicade? Put them in check with Rinvoq, a once-daily pill.
When symptoms try to take control, I got rapid relief with Rinvoq. Check.
When flares try to slow me down, I got lasting remission with Rinvoq. Check. And many were in remission even at nearly 2 years.
And Rinvoq helped visibly reduce damage of the intestinal lining. Check.
symptom relief, lasting remission.
And visibly reduced damage. Check.
Rinvoq can lower ability to fight infections. Before treatment, test for TB and do blood work. Serious infections, blood clots, some fatal. Cancers including lymphoma and skin, serious allergic reactions, GI tears, death, heart attack, and stroke occurred. CV event risk increases in age 50 plus with a heart disease risk factor. Tell your doctor if you've had these events: infection, Hep B or C, smoked, are pregnant or planning. Don't take if allergic or have an infection.
Put UC and Crohn's in check and keep them there with Rinvoq.
Ask your gastroenterologist about Rinvoq.
Sometimes you just need a moment. Self-care has never been this easy. Gummy vitamins from Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist recommended vitamin and supplement brand.
With USAA Auto Insurance, you can file a claim faster than that.
Baby, different folks have different strokes.
NASDAQ 100 Innovators, 1 ETF. People invest carefully, read and consider fund investment objectives, risks, charges, expenses, and more. Prospectus at Invesco.com.
This is Rig Gear. This is how things come together to keep the good in play.
Welcome back to I Got News for You tonight at 9 on CNN.
You are in the CNN newsroom. I'm Paula Reed in Washington. Jessica Dean has the day off. Tonight, new details on President Trump's push to end the conflict in Ukraine. Multiple sources telling CNN 3 top administration officials will be traveling to Saudi Arabia to begin talks with senior Russian officials. That meeting is set to take place within the coming days. But as the White House moves forward with those negotiations, it's also moving away from its decades-long alliance with European leaders. Trump's special envoy to Russia and Ukraine, General Keith Kellogg, says Europe will not be part of those talks. Ukrainian President Zelensky telling European leaders it's time to look away from the U.S. for support.
Some in Europe may not fully understand what's happening in Washington right now, but let's focus on understanding ourselves right here in Europe. We must give thanks to Europe first. Does America need Europe as a market? Yes. But as an ally? I don't know.
As Trump officials prepare for meetings in Saudi Arabia, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is already in talks with Russian defense officials. CNN's Fred Pleitgen has the details from Moscow.
Both the U.S. State Department and the Russian Foreign Ministry confirming that Secretary of State Marco Rubio and the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov have spoken. Now, the readout from the State Department is pretty short and pretty crisp. It says that Marco Rubio reiterated President Trump's desire to end the conflict in Ukraine and that other issues and possible areas of cooperation were also discussed in the international sphere. The Russian readout goes a lot further than that. There's actually a lot more detail than that. It seems to indicate that the Russians believe that nearly a full reset of relations could be on the table. The Russians, of course, are not only looking to end the war in Ukraine on terms favorable for themselves, but they also want sanctions relief. So part of the Russian readout reads, quote, the heads of the foreign ministries agreed to maintain a communication channel to address the accumulated issues in Russian-American relations with the aim of removing one-sided barriers inherited from the previous administration that hinder mutual beneficial trade, economic, and investment cooperation. So the Russians clearly believe that in time, possible sanctions relief and normalization of relations could be in the cards. The other thing that the Russians also say is that the diplomatic missions in the two countries were also discussed. We know, of course, that the U.S. diplomatic mission here in Russia is essentially operating with an emergency staff because so many diplomats have been expelled. The same is pretty much true for the Russian side in the United States. The Russians, of course, also had to close several consulates in the U.S. as well. The Russians are saying that a mechanism has now been put in place to try and get those diplomatic relations and those missions back can certainly appear hopeful that not only could there soon be a meeting between U.S. President Trump and the Russian President Vladimir Putin, but also that relations between the two countries could normalize in a not-too-distant future. From Plekett, CNN, Moscow.
Joining me now, CNN national security analyst and former deputy director of national intelligence, Beth Sanner. Trump's special envoy to Russia and Ukraine, General Keith Kellogg, says Russia will have to make concessions to end the war in Ukraine. What would those concessions be?
Well, we don't know, right? I mean, so far we see most of the demands for the concessions being on the Ukrainian side. But I suppose it's going to have to be around some kind of security guarantee that the Europeans maybe would provide, boots on the ground from Europe, and maybe some territorial, like they will not get the territory that they are demanding because, you know, they've annexed or they've declared those four areas, those four regions in Ukraine as Russian territory in their constitution, and they don't even control all of that. So there'll probably be some territorial issues there as well. But you know, the balance right now is we don't really know what's on the table for Russia.
Now, we don't know when President Trump plans to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Earlier this week, he just said it will likely happen in Saudi Arabia. But how critical is it for Ukraine to stay top of mind at the White House as Trump prepares before this meeting?
Well, you know, it does look by all accounts now that Ukraine will be part of those discussions in Saudi Arabia. I mean, you know, there's a little bit back and forth, but I think that the balance of the commentary suggests that they will be there. So I think that, you know, look, two things have to happen for these negotiations to work. One is that, you know, Ukraine has to have some kind of security guarantee. But in order for this war not to restart again, right? But Russia also has to be at the table. And so, you know, what we're seeing is kind of, you know, the Trump part of this effort is to try to get Russia to negotiate in good faith. And one thing I will say is there was a G7 statement today that Marco Rubio signed that did say that sanctions in the future on Russia would be contingent on whether they go to the table in good faith and are negotiating in good faith toward a negotiated settlement. And so, you know, we're seeing kind of this back and forth here, and I think that we have to kind of take a deep breath and see, look at each step as it goes. Hopefully, it's not as quite as bad as it looks.
What do you make of President Zelensky's comments to European leaders at the Munich Security Conference this morning, saying they're effectively on their own now?
Well, you know, Vance and Hegseth went to Europe and basically, on every level, really gave Europe a slap in the face, I think. And, you know, the United States has been quite bipartisanly schizophrenic on European security. We have said, every administration, Democratic and Republican, that basically Europe shouldn't have an independent defense capability and they should buy only U.S. defense equipment. And we really discourage them from building up their own capabilities. Well, now the chicken has come home to roost, but it's coming home to roost in quite a dramatic way. And so, you know, they're saying, yes, Europe has to stand up, and I think everybody's agreed on that. But the idea that Europe is going to be the sole security guarantor for Ukraine and provide the only bulwark against Russia, which remains a key threat to the United States, particularly in collaboration with China, that is going to be pretty hard when at the same time you're tariffing them, you're meddling in their internal politics, and you're kind of speaking very publicly in a negative way.
I want to play an interesting moment from my colleague Christian Amanpour's interview with President Zelensky this morning, where he actually revealed one of the things he told Trump during their call. Let's take a listen.
Did you tell, as was reported, President Trump, that Putin is only doing this and agreeing to talks because he's afraid of Trump? Did you tell him that?
Yes. I told Trump that Putin afraid of him. Yes.
comedic timing in that answer. But what do you make of that? Is he hoping this will influence Trump's relationship with the Kremlin?
He is, but it's also true. What does Putin want here? Putin is, he's globally isolated. He wants that to be lifted. Well, he's on the path to that by having a likely meeting with Trump down the road. He wants sanctions to be lifted, and that's certainly going to be on the table with President Trump in a way that in the past it wouldn't have been, even with a negotiated settlement. And he wants the United States completely out of Ukraine. He wants the United States, he wants Trump to throw up his hands and say, I'm out on Ukraine, because that means that Russia's maximalist demands will happen. And so, if Trump gets frustrated and blames Russia, the hammer's going to go the other way, and all of those dreams and efforts could be squandered. So, the United States' role in this is absolutely pivotal, and Russia's worried about that.
Matt Sander, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And we're following numerous developments from the White House as President Trump continues to test the limits of executive power. Just today, a source tells CNN the administration is forcing out senior leadership at the National Archives. Trump has been critical of the agency over its role in the classified documents case against him. This is as the administration zeroes in on probationary workers, attempting to terminate thousands of workers across several agencies. Now we're joined by CNN correspondent Rafael Romo. Rafael, you have been following the latest, including some growing concern at the CDC. What are you learning?
Yes, well, the CDC alone, about 1,300 employees could lose their jobs. According to a CNN source, one of those departments is a unit that has investigated public health threats here in the U.S. and abroad, including COVID-19. Another source told us that at CDC, a key departure includes Dr. Nirav Shah, acting principal deputy director, who told CDC staff this week that his last day would be February 28th. We have also learned that at least one member of Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency visited the Internal Revenue Service offices in Washington on Thursday as part of its mission to downsize government agencies. In at least one instance, terminations were rescinded after Trump administration officials realized how significant their impact could have been. And that happened at the National Nuclear Security Administration, where more than 300 staffers have been originally targeted for termination. We have contacted multiple federal employees who have been impacted by the layoffs, understandably, Paula. Most have chosen not to speak publicly about this, but one of them described the emails workers are receiving from the Trump administration as not a choice but a threat, adding that this feels like a hostile takeover of the federal government. In spite of all this, she told us she's not going to be bullied into submitting that 2-week notice. Let's take a listen.
I will be resigning. My coworkers aren't resigning. Other federal servants aren't resigning. We're fighting back. We're standing up against these attacks on our livelihoods and on the services that we provide by speaking out against what Doge and Elon Musk are doing.
And Paula, this federal employee told us she's not speaking for an agency or a union, but in her personal capacity. Congressman Hank Johnson, who represents Georgia's 4th Congressional District, also blasted the layoffs, saying in part that these reckless decisions not only harm federal workers who have dedicated their careers to protecting us and serving our communities in Georgia 4 and Metro Atlanta, but it also endangers the American public during a time of increased health concerns and looming dangers. Altogether, more than 200,000 employees who have worked within the federal government for less than a year are apparently being targeted as part of the effort to downsize the federal workforce. Paul?
Rafael Romo, thank you. And still ahead, President Trump is doubling down on his quest to level the playing field in trade. When new tariffs could take effect and how it could impact you.
The Vital News for You is back for another season. Lloyd Wood Jr., Amber Ruffin, and Michael Ian Black are finding it funny in the week's biggest story. I'll give y'all 4 years of something to talk about. Definitely a lot. The Vital News for You, tonight at 9 on CNN.
migraine strikes, do you question the trade-offs of treating? Ubrelvy is another option. It works fast, and most have migraine pain relief within 2 hours. You can treat it anytime, anywhere. Tell your doctor all medicines you take. Don't take if allergic or with strong CYP3A4 inhibitors. Get help right away for allergic reactions like trouble breathing, face, mouth, tongue, or throat swelling, which may occur hours to days after. Side effects include nausea and sleepiness. Migraine pain relief starts with you. Learn how AbbVie can help you save on Ubrelvy.
Hi, I'm Kate, and this is my story. Our forms osteogenesis imperfecta or brittle bone disease. I have broken my bones almost 200 times, and I have had 11 surgeries. But I didn't let that stop me. I learned to bike ride, climb, race, and I'm learning how to stand and walk. But I can only do all of this because of generous people like you and Shriners Hospitals for Children.
Because of people like you, Shriners Hospitals for Children has helped more than 1.3 million kids just like me, regardless of their family's ability to pay.
Shriners Hospitals for Children is only able to provide this world-class, life-changing medical care because of the generous gifts of people just like you.
Because of you, I can run.
Because of people like you, I can run.
I can smile.
Will you send your love to the rescue today?
When you go to loveshriners.org right now, and give just 63 cents a day, you're helping kids just like me.
Like me. Like me.
When you consider we're sending this adorable multi-lesbian blanket as a thank you and a reminder of the love you gave to a kid just like me.
Your gift, no matter how small, can help a child today.
This is your moment to make a difference.
When you pick up your phone, show me right there. And call to kids. You're helping kids like me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Please call or go online now. If operators are busy, please call again or give right away at loveshriners.org.
Your gift makes a difference. Thank you for giving.
New to the big city?
Yeah.
I'm Mara.
Hi. Apparently the best of us someone is the Adventures bundle with their own policy. 24/7 protection for all of my feelings.
Hey, I love that you protect all my stuff, but could you tone down the creepiness? Sorry. I'd do anything for you, Emily. Still creepy.
Knowledge is put to the test in every GMC Sierra. What we choose to know, we know completely. We are professional grade.
Most people don't realize the process typical doctor is.
Everyone is on the same page and knows what to expect. Here are 5 things to think about. Getting on the same page. Before we get started, can we agree to keep things respectful and not get personal during this discussion? What's the goal? I think it's important we both know what we want to get out of this. What are you hoping to achieve? Time is of the essence. I know resolving conflicts takes time, yet I think it's important that we set a time limit to finding a solution. How about we aim to wrap this up in the next 2 weeks? Team effort. In order to find a resolution, we'll need to make some decisions together. Would you be open to a collaborative approach where everyone has a say? What happens if? Being accountable is important, so let's make sure we know what happens if we don't stick to the parameters that we've agreed on. For instance, if we don't reach a resolution by our time limit, what's next? Remember, be clear, respectful, and focus on working together to find a solution that works for everyone involved.
Joining me now to discuss the impacts of tariffs, and much more is CNN global economic analyst and
Setting up some rules of the game for a conflict can help make sure everyone is on the same page and knows what to expect. Here are 5 things to think about. Getting on the same page. Before we get started, can we agree to keep things respectful and not get personal during this discussion? What's the goal? I think it's important we both know what we want to get out of this. What are you hoping to achieve? Time is of the essence. I know resolving conflicts takes time, yet I think it's important that we set a time limit to finding a solution. How about we aim to wrap this up in the next 2 weeks? Team effort. In order to find a resolution, we'll need to make some decisions together. Would you be open to a collaborative approach where everyone has a say? What happens if? Being accountable is important, so let's make sure we know what happens if we don't stick to the parameters that we've agreed on. For instance, if we don't reach a resolution by our time limit, what's next? Remember, be clear, respectful, and focus on working together to find a solution that works for everyone involved.
So that opens the door for other nations, right, to start negotiating to prevent these tariffs, right?
Setting up some rules of the game for a conflict can help.
Trump approach to trade would be, which is to look at the U.S. consumer market as a big chip on a sort of a giant poker table that is the global economy. And saying, you know what, we're not the country. Other countries have been able
When someone tells you something you already know, you might default to, I know. Instead, try, that's right. It comes across as more collaborative. For example, if you want to get the report done faster, you should try spending less time on preparation. I know. That's right. It's something I've been thinking about. I'm still getting used to the new system, so I want to be as prepared as possible, but I might try that soon. I know can reflect that you're not open to the perspective of others. It can sometimes be taken to reflect a degree of incompetence. You knew, but you didn't do. And it can even invalidate someone else, especially when they're excited to share what they're sharing. Replying with, that's right, helps you build on the conversation, justify your course of action, if that helps, and encourages greater collaboration. Let's talk apologizing at work. When do you do it? How do you do it? And are there risks to doing it too much? First, needlessly over-apologizing and saying,
Inflation. The answer would appear to be Mr. Trump called for lower interest rates on Wednesday. The same day, the Labor Department reported an increase in inflation for the third straight month. What do you make of this assessment?
Well, I think the Journal editorial board has a real point there. Generally, when you lower interest rates, that adds juice to the economy. We have plenty of juice in the economy right now. You don't want it running too much hotter because then you will get inflation, particularly in things that are very sensitive to interest rates, housing, stock prices. You know, on one hand, yes, that can sort of juice asset prices, but on the other hand, it makes things like housing more expensive. It can cause inflation. It can really push up the cost of living. And so I have to say, I think the president is probably arguing for more easy money because it could potentially make equities look good. It could make the stock market look good. That's something he puts a lot of value in. But it's not for
Yeah, love.
right now when you have inflation coming in hot already.
I want you to do whatever you want, baby. That's right. She's the queen. And she's free as a bird. She can do whatever she wants. She's the boss.
You know, you are going to see, if you do get reciprocal tariffs coming into play, you're going to see things like
Peace.